Hey you guys, welcome back to My Table of Three. Today is Monday, so that means Money Mondays here on My Table of Three now. Today we are starting with part 2 of the series that we just talked about last Monday. Anthony and I just recorded this video the same day, so same clothes. But we wanted to continue with this series and talk about this since it was fresh on our mind. So today we're going to talk about, or last week we talked about where as a family, what point we had gotten to as a family financially to make us need a budget and to know that it was no longer should we budget, it's we have to budget. So today we're going to talk about how Anthony took his income, my Hilton income, and the blog income and decided, priorities and how to set that up. So we're going to let Anthony talk a little bit first, and then I'll interject with a little bit in a minute, and we'll get started with part 2.
Well, so we've already established that we ran into some financial mess, troubles, and that's what got us to where we felt like we needed a budget, because we were about to lose the things that were really important to us.
Right.
And I wanted to start out with the things that are really important to you, because that's where your budget has to be based on.
Right.
Your priorities. And unfortunately, I think the reason that what we've seen, we've got our own situation going on, but what we've seen from other people, the reason that they have a hard time with the budget is because their priorities are kind of out of line with what's sustainable.
Right.
Let's just say it that way. I won't go into any details, but if your priorities, if you have social priorities that spend most of your money, and you're blowing and going, and all your money's going out for stuff like that.
Like we were.
Right. Well, kind of. We weren't as bad as some people, but but when tough times come, then you don't have anything. You're really in a mess. So
right.
the number one thing about any kind of budget is setting priorities, because that's really what a budget is about. It's not really about just putting numbers down as to how much I'm going to spend, but you have to start with your priorities.
Right.
We had to have a place to live, and we had to have a car to drive, and we had to have food to eat. So those are the 3 most important things. And I'll get down to how we broke those down, but you were going to talk about the grocery side.
Well, I'm not going to break all the way off into the groceries. Were definitely high priority because you have to eat. And we tried to eat healthier. We don't eat processed stuff, no box stuff. We try to buy organic meat, grass-fed, when we can, which is very expensive.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's a very important part, because a lot of people think that they're living well. I mean, when they start talking budgets, they start buying ramen noodles, macaroni and cheese, whatever it's processed that's cheap they can find.
Right, because it is cheap, unfortunately. And if you have a lot of mouths to feed, or if you're hungry, then by all means you have to eat and feed your family. So we're not judging anybody that eats ramen noodles, because in the past we have. Yeah. There's been weeks where we ate nothing but beans, and we've been grateful for ramen noodles. So obviously it is important to feed your family what you can afford to feed your family. But for us, due to health conditions, me trying to get healthy, we had that as a high priority. And I'm not going to go into details, but that is, along with they had to have somewhere to live, had to have a vehicle. So after living expenses, groceries was our next priority. Good choices for our family, which will vary for all families. So those were, bills basically, groceries, and then savings. So those are our 3 priorities that we set as husband and wife. And even we include our 10-year-old in talking about what's important.
Sure.
Not as much the trouble part. We don't hide stuff from him, but we don't also make him, we try to do the worrying.
Yeah, but it's good for him to know.
But it's good for him to know, as a married couple and as anybody, even a single person, that it's good to save, because there's trouble coming. So I'm not going to talk about, I think I'm going to talk about sacrifices, because some of the things that we enjoy doing as a family, and I did not hit start on my timer to keep myself in check. But anyway, we love to eat out.
Oh, yes.
This mom loves to eat out.
Sure, we all do.
Not only for the experience of getting out, but also because I'm a food blogger and a mom. So we work at home and school from home. So I cook at least 2 meals a day sometimes. Not anymore, but I was cooking at least 2 meals a day every day. And so we got carried away going out to eat, because I was like, oh, let's eat out so mama don't have to cook. Because then I was still cooking every day as a food blogger, trying to get recipes for the blog. So I like eating out because I don't have to cook, Anthony is my wonderful help in the kitchen as far as dishwashing. So if we eat out, he don't have to wash dishes. So eating out was something we did a lot, I would say. And in the past, way too much. Sometimes 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
We've hit that high.
And we're not the only ones. I know.
Oh yeah, I know. Everybody enjoys. I think it's a social thing as well as other moms don't want to cook and clean, especially if you follow a certain diet when you have to cook a lot. So we definitely understand that. We enjoy eating out. We enjoy spending a lot of money like on gifts, holidays, clothing, and stuff like that. So those are 3 things we immediately knew were not necessary.
Yeah, and eating out, I'll just throw this in there too.
Yeah.
Eating out brings opportunities for spending more money, because
Yes.
after you go out to eat, then you got to go shop.
Yeah, after you go out to eat, you want to either go to a movie or go to Walmart, and you end up spending more money. Plus the gas. We live about 20 minutes from town.
And if you eat too much, you might have to buy new clothes anyway.
Yeah, and if you eat too much, you have to buy new clothes, or if you are antacid. But anyway,
Yeah, right.
Enough with that, Joe. But we love those things, and we knew that in order to get the important things taken care of and to build a savings, those things were going to have to come to a halt.
Right. So we had to put a limit on that. So we set a budget.
Which
on
is hard.
How much
Yeah.
money we were going to spend on groceries. And we had to keep a hard limit on it. You couldn't say, roughly this much, because then it can go way over.
Right.
But then after that, once you got your job at Hilton, I see before, I've always wanted to set a budget for our family. I've always said, we got to set a budget. We talk about it all the time. I'd always say, Keri, we got to have a budget. And she'd always like, okay, yeah, okay.
That's nice.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, but it was hard for a variety of reasons.
Right.
First of all, money was pretty good. There wasn't any real reason to say no. You know, if we said, hey, let's go do something fun, I couldn't say, well, there's no money, because we had money.
Well, we had started having a little bit of money.
Right.
After
Well,
I started hurting. Yeah.
Right. But then of course, getting to the point where you didn't have the money makes it easy to start a budget. But then at that point, we kind of didn't have enough money really even to do a budget.
Right.
It was more or less, what bills am I going to pay this month, and what bills can be put off. So as they say, the borrow from Peter to pay Paul kind of
Right.
thing. We were doing a lot of that. But once Keri got her job at Hilton, then we had enough money to do a budget, and so her income, her full-time income, brought in enough to cover the bills. Now, it didn't cover the house payment or the car payment, but it covered all the house bills, electric bill, cell phone bills, if we had any insurance, or what else did we have? I mean, there was
Cell phones, insurance,
I had
house
some-
payment. The house payment's a large chunk of our
house and car
payment.
came out of mine.
Right. Oh, it's out of my cell phone. I pay insurance out of my check. It automatically deducts insurance, health insurance, and dental and eye vision out of my
Water
check.
bill
So we pay the water bill, our cell phones, which we'll talk about that later. But our cell phones
and groceries.
and groceries.
And all of that came out of
Yeah, and my student loan, which
Yeah,
I'm
your
still
student
paying
loan.
on. So think wisely. If you're going to college, guys,
Yeah.
or if you got kids going to college, try to do it without school loans. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime. But I've been out of school, out of college since '98, and I'm still paying on school loans. So,
Yeah. And you're working at a call center.
and I'm working in a call center. So yeah, but I used my degree before. I'm not using it now, but
But, so that's what we did. So, Keri's income went to pay, like I said, the groceries, the electric bill, the water bill. We did have a small insurance thing that we took out, so that took care of that. I had one business expense that come out of that. Did I mention cell phones? I don't know if
yeah,
I
we
did.
mentioned cell phones. This is
Okay.
all out of my Hilton
Out of her
80 hour every 2 week check.
Right. And gas, I think. Gas
Yes.
came out of that too. So gas meaning fuel, transportation.
For the vehicle, yeah.
And the magazine was doing well enough that it could cover the house payment and the car payment. So as you can see, we were in a mess because that's all it could really cover, house and car. Didn't cover groceries, didn't cover any of the other things. So thankfully,
Right.
Keri was able to compensate.
Well, before that, we also had my blog check, which is
Yes.
okay. So my blog check, if you guys don't know, I do blog. You probably do know. I blog over at My Table of Three. You can find the link below. I've been blogging since my 39th birthday. which was 2015. I was lucky enough to get that going. I have some wonderful followers like you guys and readers that help me. And the way I make money, I guess I should talk to you. The way I make money on the blog is that I have ads on my site. And I do sponsored work for brands that pay me. I know you guys don't like seeing a lot of the ads. I try not to make them invasive. But just know that really, really helps our family. All the other bloggers out there, they give those recipes for free, and we'll talk about. I mean, sometimes it takes me a week to make a recipe several times, 3 or 4 hours. Anyway, so those ads just pay me for my work and really help our family. So just, if you don't mind, just scroll past them and forgive me, but they're really helpful. Anyway, so I was making that blog income. And that was able, once we got established with me working Hilton and the magazine, Anthony's marketing company, so he has a real estate magazine that he lays out, produces, and he contracts to print out, and then we distribute it. But, so that blog money was then an opportunity for us to do what?
Go spend it.
No. Which would have been amazing, you know, because at this time, I had been blogging I just hit 4 years this past September, so when we started last year, I had been blogging for 3 years, and I was putting literally none of the money back into the blog. We were actually having to live off of it.
Having to live off of it. So what we did with it at that point is, I remember saying, you know, Keri, this is money you're bringing in. This is your blog. I want you, I didn't want her money going toward bills. That would seem kind of unfair. She worked so hard to make that. So I said, you know what? We're putting that in the bank.
Yeah.
So every time you get a check, I said, we'll spend a little bit to, you know, for blog expenses.
Well, he and I talked about how much. I mean, he doesn't just make the decision and tell me this is what we're doing.
Right. But I recommended, and she agreed, that we were putting that money in the bank, and that's been a real blessing.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I would love to buy all new stuff for the house. You guys know we need new furniture. We need a stovetop over there. I would love to have tons of new products to create recipes and just new fancy site and all that. But I honestly had been so stressed and worried about us losing the important stuff. Like, this home is important to us. It's nothing fancy, but it is Nathan, our son's home. He has lived here since he was 15 months old, and we want this to be his home. Unless, since, we don't want to move. We want him to enjoy living in the same home, having a childhood home, and we didn't want to uproot him. We didn't want to lose his stuff. So I knew in order to do that, nothing else mattered.
Right. We had to get to that point, though. And this is why we're trying to do this so that hopefully you don't have to.
Yeah, because it was rough. I mean, Anthony and I we've been married almost 13 years, and we've had a rough, I would say, this last year has been the best we've been in a long time. Marriage-wise, we're fine, but like financially, we've had a rough 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. And it's
really
still not
rough.
over.
And it's still
better.
not, yeah. We're not now, because of this budget, we've got out a lot of stuff, and we've got our savings coming, but yeah, we're still learning. We're still going back and learning from those lessons.
Yeah. But it's, a lot of people, and I keep saying a lot of people, I'm just referencing the stories that we've heard, have all kinds of money apparently, because they are blowing and going.
Well, it looks that way to us from the outside.
Sure.
So we hope that they are affording their lifestyle, because hopefully they don't end up like us.
Right. And by the way, we don't have credit cards. No credit cards.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. We do. The only debt we have, we have my school loan and the house, because we paid the car off in June.
But the whole idea, the whole idea though is that hopefully other people are out there watching this. Yeah. There's going to be some of you that are hit rock bottom, and you're like, oh man, this is what we got to do. But hopefully more of you are thinking, well, we've got plenty of money. We're not ready to do this. You should be. You need to.
While you're ahead, and this is something I wish I had learned, or, Anthony already knew it, but I think he's trying to make me happy, and we were having fun together, blowing and going. And when I say blowing and going, we wasn't buying just stupid stuff. We were going on trips, we were enjoying each other, taking Nathan places, eating out. Yeah. So we both enjoyed the things we were doing, but I think had it not been my desire to do more of that, we probably would have been on the board a lot sooner and maybe not have went through.
But at the same time, I enjoyed those things too.
Right. But I think it's made us stronger as far as our marriage and as far as parents. So now we really strive to teach Nathan, this is where we were. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
This is where we want to be, and this is what we've got to sacrifice to get there. So real fast, Anthony, can you tell them how you took our money? So we know the blog income every month. We established that I would spend a certain amount of money on like ingredients, plug-ins, different things like that. So the rest of that, and I would say, okay, so I would say just $100 a month. I'll tell you the amount. $100 a month is what I budget to spend on expenses right now on my blog. The rest goes straight into the bank. We don't touch it. We do not touch it unless we have a medical bill that comes up or an emergency, like if we need tires for the vehicle, we just take them out. We just paid our taxes on the vehicle and our property taxes. That come out of savings. But everything else goes in savings and we don't touch it. We don't touch it. We have a goal in mind before we can spend any of it, like on a deck for the house or furniture. We have a goal in mind.
Well,
so
yeah, we've got a nest egg. We're trying to reach about 10 grand.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're not going to spend the 10 grand.
Yeah, because we have to have that safety net. Yeah.
But then after that, we may spend a little bit more if whatever comes in above that.
So how do you take, say, my check every 2 weeks? Can you let them know? Okay, so should I tell them how much?
If you want to.
Okay, so from Hilton, it's not a high-paying job. I make about $11.33. So we take that check, and Anthony, you can go ahead. And then the 2 weeks, I get paid every 2 weeks. Yeah. And what do? You have a run-in spreadsheet?
Yeah, it's a text document, but yeah, it's basically a spreadsheet.
And so can you tell them how you break that down? Like each month, each week, I'll let you break it down.
So our bills, I've just divided them up into two, so that each check that she brings in, that I pay half the bills on the first week, the best that I can, and the other half, the first check, and the other half the bills on the second check. And groceries come out of both of them, actually, because we have to get groceries every 2 weeks.
Yeah, we get groceries every 2 weeks, which you guys, twice a month. That's one way. And I'll talk about groceries maybe next week for you guys. I'll talk about how we decided no more trips 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, because that's gas, and you buy extra stuff that you don't need anyway.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that next week, because I know that's a lot of you guys come from our grocery hauls, and so being moms, being families, eating, everybody's got to do it. So I'll tell you how we established our grocery budget and how I stay within that budget and what we can do on it. So Anthony just basically broke our bills down, and every 2 weeks he takes a check from Hilton and we divide it up so that when the bill comes due, we have lots of accounts set up, and we have it divided. So when those bills come due, we already have the money in the bank and we're able to pay the bill ahead of time and get it done. And then anything in that Hilton check, we agreed that if it's a surplus of money and all the bills for that 2 weeks he budgets for is covered, that goes into an account we call a discretionary fund, which is something we'll talk about. Maybe we'll talk about discretionary fund after we talk about groceries. Because that's where entertainment and things come from. So I think that's all we're going to talk about this week, because we probably ran way over our 10 minutes. But getting this started, we'll try and keep it shorter going forward. But I really appreciate you guys for coming back on this Money Monday and watching part 2 of how we established a budget. Again, if you have any questions about stuff maybe that we talked about that you want to know a little bit more in depth about, drop the comments below. Remember, in the description below, I'll put a link to my blog at My Table of 3. There's also some affiliate links to products that we like. Anytime you use those, they do also benefit our family, because I earn a small commission. And there's that group to our group. There's a link to our Stuff Mart USA group for this YouTube channel as well. So check that out. And have anything else?
That's it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time on Money Mondays.